Recognition happens from the day we were just born and we're kids, and we just seek it from our parents. And naturally, we give it all the time at work. But if it's not tracked and you don't know how to measure it, there's no way you can help people that are falling through the cracks. Of course, there are certain people that get recognized all the time because that's just who they are and they're front and center. But I'm more concerned about those that aren't so front and center, that are doing amazing work. And so it's all about measuring it.
This is the Rebel HR Podcast, the podcast where we talk to HR innovators about all things people leadership. If you're looking for places to find about new ways to think about the world of work, this is the podcast for you. Please subscribe from your favorite podcast listening platform today and leave us a review. Rebel on, HR Rebels. All right, Rebel HR listeners, super excited for the conversation today. We have Steve Sonnenberg. Steve is the co-founder and CEO of AwardCo. He learned a great deal watching his father's career in employee recognition with companies like McDonald's, but something was missing. So in 2011, he began working on plans to use new, innovative technology to solve the pitfalls of traditional employee recognition programs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's great to be with you.
Well, I'm super excited about it, and I'll be honest with you. This is a little bit self-serving because I'm in the midst of an RFP trying to figure out what in the world to do with employee recognition. And so before we get into it, and I ask all of my selfish questions, what led you into the world of recognizing others?
Yeah, Kyle, great question. It does start with my father. He is an employee recognition consultant, independent from any specific company. He works for like companies like Jostens and like ring manufacturers. And he got into the lapel pins, the rings, the plaques for corporations. So I grew up in the Chicagoland area. He had incredible customers like McDonald's and Motorola and John Deere out of Chicago. But my love probably started when he did the 6 Chicago Bulls championship rings. He got involved with the championship sports side. And I, as a junior high at the time, I was able to go to those ring ceremonies, those after parties, meet the players. And we're talking, this is the 90s, era of the Chicago Bulls. So that's where I was like, I want to do what my dad does. But there was a problem. I didn't care for rings and plaques. I love the part of, what he was doing, what it was about rewarding and recognizing achievements. But I always knew there was a better way. But that was my introduction. It was my own father, who still is an independent contractor and still out there working today.
Okay, man. Now you're speaking my language. So, I'm a Midwest kid.
Yeah.
And my formative years was watching the Bulls win all those championships. I didn't have a rookie car, but I had a couple of Michael Jordan basketball cards, Scottie Pippen, BJ Armstrong.
Yeah.
I had a BJ Armstrong autograph. Yeah. So, we could talk about that, I'm sure. But I could see that being impactful for someone in their youth.
Totally.
But okay, so no ring. So I get that. Like I got a class ring somewhere. Actually, my wife and I were just laughing about this. We were cleaning out a closet or something. We're like, oh, hey, look, I found my class ring, and it's been there for the last 10 years. Oh, well, guess put it back in there.
I mean, there's a time and a place, and I think it's great, right? But it's nowadays people want choice. They want more options, and that's where I saw the opportunity in this space. I viewed it as decades, a century long of people doing the same thing over and over. And I was shocked as I learned watching my dad do the certain things he was doing for his whole career. And I just knew there was this younger generation is coming up. There's just a better way to look at it. But the seed was planted with my father. And I told him, he says, look, I want you to take over my accounts. And I said, look, that sounds great. I love it. You've built an unbelievable business for our family, and you've been very successful. But if I'm going to get into this space, I want to reinvent it. There's a better way to do it, and I wanted to create that Amazon-like experience, where there's choice and it's fast and it's, the era that we live in today. So that's why I got into it, and it kind of led me into a newer path in the field.
That's really interesting. And you're hitting on something that I think it's really critical, and I'm sure everybody listening to this can pull out a scenario where this was very, very relevant. But you know, everything you read about recognition and celebrating employees points to the fact that people like to be recognized differently.
Hmm.
You know, and what works for someone doesn't work for someone else. And so I think you're hitting on a really critical point here, which is, you know, kind of that optionality of recognition. But you know, my context there is like, okay, instead of giving somebody, you know, Mountain Dew, give them Diet Coke because that's their favorite pop, right? And I kid you not, my first job out of college, we literally had a binder, and you were supposed to fill out the binder and have your employees fill out what is your favorite pop, what is your favorite snack, what is your and then the idea was, okay, I'm going to pull this binder out and pull out this piece of paper, and then when they do something good, I'm going to reward them with whatever they wrote down on that paper. It was super high tech. So I'm sure AwardCo is kind of the, you know, that's similar.
Yeah, that's right. No, there's, yeah, I mean, it is true. We all want to be rewarded in different ways. People have different personas. You know, sometimes people want to be out front in the whole organization at all hands on meeting, and you come up and everyone claps. And other times people are more shy, you know, and they don't want that, and they want to make it more private. But really, we want to be acknowledged that we're on the right path. And so when it comes to recognition, there is that social element that is so important, that feeling that you receive. It's not all monetary. You know, it has to come timely. It has to come, you know, from a close peer that you know, and they saw the work that you did. And then it has to come in the way that you like to be recognized. Because if you're uncomfortable and you don't want to be shout out in front of the whole company, people got to know that the managers are so important to understand their employees. But then when it does come to the monetary side, it's all about choice. You know, get something that is impactful to you, and that will be meaningful, rather than you know, something that is a cool gift. Like there was a company here in the Valley, here out in Silicon Slopes area in Utah, where everyone got an Oculus. Awesome. You know what I mean? Such a cool gift, but it's just not everyone wanted that. You know what I mean? So it was very expensive for half the employees that didn't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that, like, I'd be the one. I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. What do I do with this?
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
looks cool. It looks expensive.
yeah,
Can I hawk it on eBay? You know, maybe."
yeah, exactly.
When Molly, Patrick, and I tried to figure out how to start our own podcast, we didn't know where to start. Thankfully, we found Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout makes it super easy for us to upload our episodes, track our listeners, and get listed on all the major podcast networks. Today's a great day to start your own podcast. I know that you're one of our listeners, so you've definitely got something to say. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't that hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And now, for listeners of Rebel HR, you can get a $20 Amazon gift card sent to you from Buzzsprout by clicking in the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening. So I wanted to hit on something with AwardCo, and I think it's important. I want to understand it a little bit more because I have a feeling it was very intentional. But you know, AwardCo is the employee rewards and recognition company that builds culture through value-driven recognition. So as you look at value-driven recognition, how do you look at that? How do you define that, and how do you provide a solution for that?
Yeah. Well, I think people with like the Great Resignation out there, I mean, that's been used a lot now. They want to work for an organization that has a great purpose, a great place they're going, something, why they exist. And there's great companies out there like the Patagonias and the Starbucks that have incredible purposes of why they exist, that employees want to attach themselves, they believe in, and it's something bigger than themselves. And then you have these values of an organization that are intended to support that overall purpose of an organization. And those values should support that purpose. And so one of the things that we do at AwardCo is we want to create a system within an organization. Part of their culture is where we take those values, whether it's customer obsession or all in or whatever that makes up your organization that supports your overall purpose. And we want to make it easy and natural for the organization to recognize on those values every day. So when somebody is exemplifying a value, at your company, and I'll just do one of our examples. One of ours is just grit, right? And I love when people tag that value and share a story of something that they did that represents what that is. And then it gets posted on our recognition feed, and it's social for everyone to look at it and like it and comment. It also, I think it's so important for that recognition to flow into your communication channels as well. So that same recognition that happened went to Slack or went to Microsoft Teams, to his designated channel. And so when we're constantly going about our day working, solving complex problems, the recognition is front and center. It's in the applications that I'm using. And so I think when it comes back to your question of like, what are we doing? And it's allowing organizations to recognize those values on a daily basis and having those values flow into the communication channels that they need to. And then if your manager has a monetary budget of points, they can give monetary points as well to put an exclamation on that. And it's discretionary. It's up to them. But that's one way we do it, is we constantly help organizations recognize on their values meaningful recognitions on a daily basis that really support that overall purpose.
Yeah, I love that. And it's I think it just comes down to being authentic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right. It needs to be an authentic recognition, not just like, hey, you were amazing working with that customer, #customer obsession. General, not authentic. There's nothing there. Like, there needs to be details. There needs to be explanation. Share the story. And now, one of the things that we do, just so you know, to help encourage the for employees to be authentic, we do contests. We have fun with it. We gamify it. We say the top 5 recognitions that are the most authentic, creative, fun. We're going to recognize them on our all hands on meeting, and you're going to get 100 points or $100. And what it does, it gets people that just want to win. And so then all of a sudden it's this contagious culture where everyone's trying to be clever and funny, and it adds to the quality of the recognition, because we're actually talking about it. And when you talk about it and you put in an incentive there, you usually get what you want. That's what I've seen. We use our platform.
Right. I love that. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, man, I could really have some fun with that. But then
what people come up with.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be dangerous. So, I'm sitting here, I put my compliance hat on. I'm like, ooh, that could get ugly. It could be fun. Yeah. But that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. And that's one of the things, that I saw in your recent press release is it's talking about HR's role in culture and recognition, and the fact that is this an HR function or not? So what is your perspective on HR's role in culture and recognition?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I said in what, our last series round funding, I had I truly believe this, that AwardCo is becoming like not just an HR tool, business operational tool, that it affects every department within the organization. So to me, it's not just the HR's sole responsibility, the CHRO or the head of culture to be responsible for it. We are all responsible for it. And so when it comes to the sales organization, what tools are they using to make sure that they're recognized and appreciated? Down to the HR team, to the marketing team, to everyone across the organization. Everyone has the torch and they need to carry it on to the next generation that's coming on. At AwardCo, we're scaling very fast. And so I think about this all the time. How do we continue to keep our culture as we continue to double in employee size? And so we constantly give education to our managers in every department. And we encourage them to recognize often every department, and we hold the managers responsible for it. We want to give them tools and analytics so they can see their department of who's being recognized and who's not. And those that are quieter, that are maybe doing incredible work, but people aren't noticing it, it's up to the managers to raise the hand and say, this individual, let's rally around them, and they're going to give the recognition of something that they maybe did, and they're going to spotlight it, and it becomes contagious. So that's what I mean. It actually is, it's up to the managers to continue the culture all across the organization. And it's not just up to the HR team to say, oh, we don't have a great culture. It's HR fault. It's the head of culture. No, it's everyone. And everyone needs to understand that. And so you need to give them tools. And so that's where I go back to that one report I just talked about. For a manager to log into a recognition system to see who's being recognized and who's not. And we even have like a score on them. And when it comes down to people leaving an organization, they leave because they don't feel appreciated. How many times have we read that? But have we ever measured it? I think we recognize all the time, through email or just on Slack, but there's no formalized way of recognition and nothing's tracking it. And that's what we're trying to do at AwardCo, is we're trying to take all this great data and track it and then report back to the managers to let them know how they're doing. So that's why everyone is important.
Gotcha. Well, there's a lot of great stuff in there, and I'm furiously taking notes here. So, because I got some, just maybe some tactical questions. So,
Yeah.
So you hit on something that I think is a really, really, really critical point right now. It's something I'm feeling. My organization is growing very quickly, and we have that concern about how do we retain the culture that got us here.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure people don't feel like we're growing so quickly, or they're not feeling appreciated for the growth, or they're being left behind. Or a quiet employee that maybe is just killing it every single day, but doesn't, ask for the spotlight or doesn't get the spotlight. And that's been one of the challenges that I really haven't been able to solve yet. So when you talk about giving managers a tool and then holding them responsible, what does this look like? How do you approach this?
Yeah. Well, you can't measure something if you're not tracking it. And so that's the first thing to do, is understand, okay, here are all the people that I'm responsible for. And as a manager, I can then look down and see how many times did they recognize someone. That's one area of viewpoint that the manager has. And then you can also see how many times has that person received a recognition. And we're actually creating a recognition score for the company and on the individual user. And if you're not measuring it, you have no idea. And I've worked at some organizations in the past prior to AwardCo, and you just never know. I mean, recognition happens from the day we were, just born and we're kids, and we just seek it from our parents. And naturally, we give it all the time at work. But if it's not tracked and you don't know how to measure it, there's no way you can help people that are falling through the cracks. Of course, there are certain people that get recognized all the time because that's just who they are and they're front and center. But I'm more concerned about those that aren't so front and center, that are doing amazing work. And so it's all about measuring it. And so, that's one of the things that we focus on with our application is measuring that and giving those tools to the managers so they can be smart and so they can create a culture of recognition within their group.
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you're a private practice owner, here's why you want to hire virtual assistants. Virtual assistants not only can perform all of the non-clinical responsibilities by supporting or replacing your current team, but they can do it at a fraction of the cost, all while improving the patient care experience. Virtual Rockstar was created for private practice owners by a private practice owner who wants to help you gain greater profitability and freedom. We'll teach you how to work with virtual assistants, all while helping bring a family out of poverty. Visit www.virtualrockstar.com today to learn more and book your free discovery call at www.virtualrockstar.com.
Got it. Yeah, I'm just thinking through, geez, what would this look like in my organization? It might be kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And
I
truly
gotta believe
believe-
that you get mixed reactions from a manager when you tell them, "Hey, I'm gonna measure this."
yeah. Well, and you're not. I mean, it's just the tools that you have behind the scenes, that you can help, and the point is for the manager to have visibility into the recognition side of their department, and then to identify the gaps, and then for them to solve the problems. And I truly believe when you have a high recognition score, that impacts your ENPS and your NPS scores. It's just a number we haven't been tracking. We just kind of say, "Hey, are you happy? Would you refer someone to your job to someone at your company?" 0 to 10, and then they give a score there. Then you can generate ENPS. That's fine, but I'm taking it a step further. I'm saying we have so much data now at work, and it's truly, if that person's being recognized and is recognizing a lot of people, then I have a better score that I can create. And if that score is higher, then I know that our customers are being taken care of because our employees are being taken care of.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's really, it's really interesting. And, when you mentioned that, I was just having flashbacks to, you mentioned NPS or Net Promoter Score, if you're not familiar. And I can't tell you, I've done dozens of employee surveys in my career. And I think, yeah, in every single survey, one of the bottom three scores was recognition. Usually, pay is in there, and then communication, recognition. It's all kind of the same bucket. And then you look at your Net Promoter Score, and you're like, oh well, we're kind of mediocre.
Oh.
And it's so frustrating to go through that and do all this work, and you feel like, yeah, this is going to change, that NPS, we're going to be good. Recognition looks great. And it's like, you barely scratch the surface. And so have you seen any results, or, have any kind of stories where you've seen an organization that's really trying to solve this problem, find the solution or find something that worked for them?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, we're taking organizations that are coming from a culture of recognizing just for service anniversaries, which is very common, 5, 10, 15 years. It's just that's how they've done it for decades. And taking those organizations and implementing a value-based recognition program, recognizing their values on a daily basis. Now, recognition, I do go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, that's important to us, and that's something that's been around for a while. But I truly believe that organizations that have taken this approach where they are recognizing, there's like 3 levels here that I want to kind of talk about. The first level is this belonging level, where organizations just want to belong somewhere. And I truly, and you should, as an organization, take those opportunities to recognize them at least 3 times that first year for belonging. And what I mean by that is an onboarding program. Everyone gets onboarded, so you recognize them, you appreciate them. Maybe you give them some points that could be used just in the onboarding store of swag. And then you go to the second thing. Everyone has a birthday. For the most part, some people don't celebrate birthdays, and there's other ways you can look at that. But a lot of people will do like a birthday program, and that, again, they're just celebrating the employee for belonging. And third is their work anniversary. So you want to create a culture of recognition and build that foundation of a sense of belonging. And so many people miss the boat there because those are 3 great examples of things that you can do the first year of recognizing to create a culture of recognition. Then you go to the second level, which is you want to create a culture where they have to earn that recognition. And that's where they have to do something amazing, where they're doing exemplifying the values of your organization. They have to put forth the effort. And then you allow people to recognize those employees based on that. And that's that second level. And then you got the top level, which is more like your employee of the month type program, your president's club, your A team. And that's like a nomination program. So what we do is we help organizations kind of create a well-balanced solution to their recognition solutions, a strategic reason of how you recognize. And when we see organizations develop that balanced solution of recognition, then their recognition scores go up because automatically they're recognizing someone at least 4, 5, 6 times through their organization every year. And that is so much higher than the norm. There's a lot of data out there that shows that companies are not recognizing their employees all but once every 2 years or 3 years formally. And so we've seen a lot of incredible results from our organizations that we've worked with that have implemented that balanced structure of recognizing.
Yeah, that what you just said just really kind of struck me. Could you imagine not getting recognized for 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
And busting your hump every day? I mean, that'd be absolutely demoralizing. But I know it happens.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. And that's why it's important to actually have a strategic approach to recognition. And it's a 3-2-1 approach. 3 belonging recognition programs: onboarding, birthdays, anniversaries. 2 of the next level, which you have to earn it, which is spot recognition, and also maybe health and wellness and things like that I didn't elaborate on. We can go on for a long time on this. And then that last level is 1, that nomination program. Now, with the nomination program, we have fun with it. We call it the A team, and it has to be nominated. Everyone gets 1 nomination once a month. So it's a glorified employee of the month. Employee of the month is cheesy. A team is cooler. And, you got to get fun with the branding of it, right? But then what we do is we select a winner, and then we go over to Cameo, the celebrity, we get a celebrity to say something about an employee. And so we actually nominate who the winner is. We go find out who they like. We've used Lindsay Lohan. We've used, whatever the employee likes, we find out. And then we take it to our all hands on meeting, and then we announce the A team winner. And then we have the celebrity announce it. We have people from the office do it. We have, you know what I mean? And it makes it a little bit more special. So again, you have to go about it in a strategic way. If you don't, you don't have an organization, a culture of recognizing.
That does sound fun. I mean, that sounds cool. I want to do that. Like that, I want to be a part of that.
Well, you should see it. And one of these days, and we get enough of them. We've probably done about 8 or 9 now. We'll probably have them, put them all on our website, and then people can rate them, the celebrities, because some show up and that are unbelievable, that do such a good job, that capture the spirit of recognition. And then some are like, I don't even want to be on Cameo. I don't even know why I'm doing this. And they fall through. But it's fun for the company. It's fun for the employees. It makes the recognition meaningful. You got to think outside the box.
No, you mentioned that, and I was like, and I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, who would my Cameo be?
Who would you use?
I gotta say, it would be hilarious. This is probably what my team would do. My team would have it be Toby from The Office, and because they would just assume that he would be the guy for me, right? And
so Kyle, I'll email you after this. Our first A team winner selected Toby, so we got to announce the winner in front of the whole company, and Toby nailed it in character.
That's how I bet. Well, and yeah, it would have to be in character, right? The typical droning age.
It costs a couple $100. I mean, to do a cameo like that. So once a month, we make that one a little bit more special, and it's just a fun thing.
That's cool. And it's funny. Like we're kind of laughing about it here, but that's kind of the point, right? Like making the workplace a little bit fun. Like, can we not come to work and hate it and then go home and, just hope that, we have a 3-day weekend coming up, right? Like mm-hmm. The whole point is to make this workplace more fun to be at, I could have a lot of fun with something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And other people are using us, Kyle, in other ways too. Like you talk about other interesting ways people might be recognizing their employees, and so right now we're actually having a lot of people use us for vaccines. They use it as an incentive, and they use our AwardCo platform to incentivize their employees to be vaccinated. And you can actually self-recognize on our platform. So not only can you be recognized by peers, but you can self-recognize as well. And there's a way, a workflow to do that. Another way is work at home. People wanted to spruce up home offices. So we had some great organizations, and due to NDAs, I can't disclose company names,
sure.
but they created a program of recognizing their employees for just working from home. And one of the things you can do with AwardCo is you can actually take points and designate those points to only purchase certain items. So they were able to create a custom work at home catalog via Amazon inside of AwardCo, and they were able to recognize all their employees that were working from home, $400 of points. And then they all were able to go into their curated catalog that was handpicked from Amazon and pick items from home. And then all those items got shipped from Amazon, and it was an unbelievable experience for procurement, to HR, to the employees. And then all they did is go on LinkedIn and say how awesome their company is. So it was a win-win for everyone.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, and this is, I think this is one of the more important components here, because I've seen these programs before where you do like the points, and then you go into you get the catalog, and you go in the catalog and you pick the whatever thing you want. But this is Amazon, right? So you can basically get whatever you want then with this type of platform.
Correct.
How does that work?
Yeah. So we have a unique relationship with Amazon, and that's a whole nother story how we even did that, because they told me, no, we don't want to work with you. And somehow we broke that. But yeah, it's over hundreds of millions of options on Amazon streamed directly on our client's own award site, branded to you, right? So we have great customers like Texas Roadhouse and a whole bunch of others, Fortune 500 companies, where they have their logo in the left-hand corner. It's their marketplace of options of all the Amazon products inside their own recognition site, branded to them. And then they have gift cards and Priceline hotels. We created the ultimate award network that is theirs for their employees. And so it's all about employee choice. It's whatever they want. But you do have the ability to curate those points to say, well, this is an onboarding program, so you can only spend these 100 points in the swag store. So we helped solve the swags, whether they're working from home or at the office, they can pick what they want, choose the size. And then Amazon, they can just choose whatever they want. And you should see, Kyle, the things that people buy. It's one of the, anonymously, I will feature items in our all hands on meetings that we do once a week. And the other day, someone bought like a heated branch for their bird cage, for their bird to be because it, maybe it has cold feet, stuff like that. You'd never think to put on an award catalog. I also saw someone do a personal sauna where you literally like push a button and it's a balloon that goes over you and then it steams you up inside. And it's just like, it is so wild what people get, and they love it because it's theirs. It's what they want. So I can go on and on, all the things that they purchase. But the point is, it is Amazon. You get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I get, I don't remember seeing the heated bird branch or the bubble sauna in the last service awards catalog that we had, but
you don't think to put it, but it's it's so fun, and employees have fun with it, and they know they get it from their organization. It's their brand. When they log in, it's all the products there. So it's exciting for them.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that's just really interesting about this program is even though you're getting something that maybe, I don't know, heated bird branches, maybe you were going to get that anyways. And you got it because you got this, you got recognized. But now every time you look at that bird and his feet are warm, there's a little bit of a feeling there like, oh, I got that because of X, because I did a great job that day, or I won the employee nomination that week, or I hit 3 months with my company and I belong with that company, right? And that does mean something, right?
It does. It does. It means something. So we have some people that turn off our gift card function because they don't want their employees to get gift cards. Because you put it in your pocket and you may or may spend it. You may spend only 70% of it. How many times do we leave extra dollars on it? But with this, it's with Amazon, they can get what they want and when they want it. And it's always there when they log in to get something more, so they can earn more points as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's funny, this is, it just sounds like a really great program. Sounds like a lot of fun. And it's bringing, it's bringing me back to the time that I got that cooler for a service award from from one of my employers. And I'll be honest. So it was a choice. Like I could have a choice, but I had like 5 things to choose from.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't really thrilled about anything. But I was like, I could use a cooler, like a little cooler, like a 6-pack cooler for, beer or whatever. And, but I use that cooler every week when I walk to my neighbor's house and we have happy hour. And every time I get that cooler, I pick that cooler up. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And it's goofy, but it really does. It's like, there's like a warm, like kind of a cool feeling like, oh yeah, I got that. I think it was 3 years service award. Right. So I earned that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much better when they can pick what they want rather than there's a lot of people that I talked to that picked that cooler that was like, it was the only thing that I wanted, but I really didn't care for
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it does the opposite effect. So that's wwhy it's all the choice is king. And you got to give them the choice these days, especially the younger generation. They live in the Amazon world where they have choice and they're going to get it fast. And that's the same thing too. That's so important. If you are going to give an employee an award or reward, then it needs to come in a couple days. And it's cool stories. Like I have people, we have over 3 million users now. And when we were going to trade shows, people would come up and said, oh my gosh, I ordered something that morning and I got it that evening because they live close to the Amazon warehouse. Our integration is direct with them. Once it's placed on our system, it goes to their world-class fulfillment centers in real time. And depending on the time they got it, they could literally receive it the same day.
We'll be back after a quick break.
At my current company, I've generated 7 figures in revenue in just 6 months doing all the sales by myself. Just me and Rumi, my secret weapon. Rumi isn't just another meeting app. It's like Zoom or Google Meet, but with AI tools that supercharge my results. Rumi records every meeting, gives me real-time insights during sales calls, and if I've met with a prospect in the past, Rumi's meeting memory answers any questions I have before the call. I don't waste time digging through notes, Rumi preps me instantly. Go to tryrumi.ai, that's tryrumi.ai for a 14-day free trial.
Super cool. Super cool. Yeah, I think I think it's really an interesting program. I don't know how you got Amazon to agree to it. Yeah, that's probably another podcast, but good,
Yeah, it
good
is.
for you.
It was just luck. It was a lot of luck and a lot of hard work, but so definitely for another podcast because that'll probably take me 10 minutes to kind of go through.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a really fascinating take. I do think that recognition is one of those things that HR. I mean, I've been looking for a tool that works, for years, and every time I look, I look for something, it just tends to be the same thing. It's just a different company, and this really does. It sounds different. It sounds quick. I do think the other thing you hit on is the speed. Having a tool to recognize is critical, because if you don't recognize employees in a timely manner, just with a tool that allows you to recognize them, let alone get the thing in their hand, or you don't empower your managers and say, hey, when you want to recognize someone, use this thing. It's right here. Use it. It's so easy to just forget about it.
Totally.
Right? And if you're not tracking it, like we already talked about, there's no accountability there. And eventually, with best intentions, you go home and you're like, oh, crap. I was going to say thanks to Susie, and then you go in the next morning with best intentions to recognize her, and your day gets away from you, and then it's
Yep.
next week and it's next
Yep.
month, and you
Totally.
missed it.
Totally. And that's why I talked about earlier, the integrations with communication applications is key. So you mentioned, Kyle, you're in an RFP right now. Your recognition tools need to work with the Slack, the Teams, the Yammers, the Outlooks. Recognition works when it happens in your natural flow. It can't be this other tool. It can't be AwardCo. What's that site we use again? Something
Yeah.
/ AwardCo. Our recognitions and countless other customers that went from Slack and took AwardCo and put it inside of Slack and Teams. I know personally ours went up 400% because it happened in our flow. I'm constantly communicating with people, and now I can do a /recognize and the little widget pops up right within Slack. That is key to any modern day recognition solution that you need to have. And then you recognize non-monetary and monetary, have a mixture of both. And I think it's good to have a mixture of both. You don't want to create a self of entitlement. That's why you want to give managers budgets that they can be responsible for, that can use to incentivize. And you just have a mixture of, I like a 70-30 rule, 70% non-monetary, 30% monetary.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen the winning equation to be.
Well, and it's just like where the world is going right now. It's the ease of use, kind of that frictionless experience where like, oh, this is great. I need to spot recognize, done, hashtag recognize or whatever, we don't use Slack, so I don't know all the lingo, but, and then it's right there, and then it's done, and then it's tracked, and it's, the easier you make it, the more your managers will do it. Because I guarantee you, I know there's some HR people here listening. They're like, my managers wouldn't do this. I've tried.
Yeah.
It's not that managers don't want to do it. It's that they don't have a tool to do it in their, like you said, in their flow, like in their workday, right? So if they have something where they just hit a button essentially, and then they do it, it will happen.
Exactly.
It will happen. Make
it more accessible to them. That's exactly right. It will. It takes time, but I was shocked with how easy it became, as we just started recognizing it, become part of our culture. And that's how I got AwardCo. We have to be the best at recognition and building culture, or who are we to sell it, right? And so I have a goal. I have 3 goals. It is to generate new revenue, protect revenue, and recognize often, and recognize the good. And so I always go in front of our company and I share a number. I say, look, what we did last month, we had averaged about 3.5 recognitions per user. Like, let's see if we can get a little higher. And then it's like, then people are like, yeah, we can do more. And it just became natural. You know what I mean? So it does start from the top. You got to get your managers bought in, and you have to have an easy solution, and you have to recognize in your flow. And then it'll be amazing to watch your organization flourish and become a culture of recognition.
Yeah. Love that. Well, it's been an absolutely wonderful conversation, but we are coming close to the end of our time together. And I know you're a super busy guy, so I want to be respectful. We are going to shift gears. We're going to go into the Rebel HR Flash Round. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What are you reading right now?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, and the book that I currently have right now is, and this is my second time through now, is Shoe Dog. I love Shoe Dog. In fact, I was with some Nike executives, and they didn't love Shoe Dog because they didn't get involved with the Michael Jordan. How did they land the Jordan brand and all that? They didn't, I loved it because of the entrepreneurial side of that book, of the crazy things that Phil Knight had to do to build his company. And that's what I love, because there's no roadmap to building a company. And so I love Shoe Dog.
Love that. I have not read that book, so I got to put that one on the list. I have just not had a chance. All right, question number 2. Who should we be listening to?
Well, just kind of the first thing that comes to mind is your customers and your prospects. And what I mean by that is, one of my favorite things to do, people always have podcasts or listening to audiobooks as they drive home. I actually use a tool called Gong, Gong.io. that is a tool that records all my sales conversations, and they organize it in categories. And I can actually, on my ride home, I listen to real live conversations of people trying to reimagine recognition with my salespeople. And I love learning and listening to those conversations. So I love listening to future customers, prospects, and customers, because you can learn so much about what they're looking for right now.
That's fascinating.
It's just kind of there's no right. I don't know if that's but that's what I do. I love listening to our own people and real life situations that happen that day as I drive home.
Yeah, it's a far departure from my world, because I'm in manufacturing setting, and usually when I have to record a conversation, it's not good. It's I'm notifying somebody I'm recording, yada 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 yada.
Everyone's talking about right now, like, how do I retain my employees? How do I engage with them? How do I recognize them? The Great Resignation. That's why I'm listening to hundreds and thousands of conversations, and then I take that, and it allows me to stay true on the course of what AwardCo should be developing.
Yeah, I love that. And at the end of the day, I think about whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an HR practitioner, that your customers, you have customers. For HR, they just might happen to be internal. Yeah. Right. And so you need to have that feedback loop. You need to make sure you're serving your organization, your managers, your team, with the right type of solutions. Otherwise,
and your employees too. That's something I do every Friday evening. We use Lattice. A lot of people know, it's a pulse thing. And every day I get that information. I love reading what employees are saying. So exactly right.
Absolutely. All right. Last question. How can our listeners connect with you?
Best way, just find me on LinkedIn, Steve Sonnenberg. I accept most invitations. And I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to connect with me right now, is just via LinkedIn.
Perfect. And we'll have that information in the show notes. The company is AwardCo, and check it out. I know I'm going to throw this into the RFP here, and you're telling me that I can get something quick for my employees on Amazon and have it link in with my systems, and my interest is piqued. So, awesome. Steve, thanks so much for the time. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great getting to know you, and appreciate the time today.
Thanks. Take care. All right, that does it for the Rebel HR podcast. Big thank you to our guests. Follow us on Facebook at Rebel HR Podcast, Twitter at Rebel HR Guy, or see our website at rebelhumanresources.com. The views and opinions expressed by Rebel HR Podcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any of the organizations that we represent. No animals were harmed during the filming of this podcast.
Baby.